So today we are going to be finishing up the last two things from our handout. And if you'll notice, we've just about finished all of our guided notes, but on the front there are two things that we have left open. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't find this out until this morning, or maybe it was yesterday somebody pointed out to me. If you look at the handout under your steps of scientific method, it says number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and yours should say 7. If yours doesn't go all the way down to 7, and number 7 is the word constant, would you raise your hand if yours doesn't go all the way to number 7? Okay, well good. Then everybody has number 7? Yeah? Okay, wonderful. Perfect. Okay. We today are going to be looking at 2 more words to add to our language of science. And we're going to talk about observations and inferences. Observations and inferences. So, I want you to, for just a second, think about your idea of a scientist. If I said the word scientist to you, what picture would come into your mind? Talk about that with your table group. What does a scientist look like to you? A white person. Alright. You know what's interesting is usually people get this picture of an old, white-haired guy, right? Yeah. With glasses and kind of wild-looking hair.
Or Bill Nye. Like Albert Einstein.
Yeah, kind of an Albert Einstein guy. But you know what? Scientists don't all look like that. I am a scientist, and I do not have wild white hair, okay? I may be a little weird and kind of kooky out there, but because scientists, they think differently than everybody else, and that's okay. That's good about them. Artsy people think differently than everybody, right? And we all have unique things about us. But I just had to show you a picture of 2 scientists that are totally different from your picture of what you think a scientist is. These are 2 women that are scientists. One of them's named Jane Goodall. Have y'all heard of her before?
Yes.
What do you know about Jane Goodall?
Me too.
Yes, or chimpanzee, doesn't she? And then another one, Diane Fossey. Has anybody heard of her? Have you heard of the movie Gorillas in the Mist? Yes. Have you guys, anybody seen that movie?
No.
That'd be a great one to watch if you like animal life and all that. Diane Fossey literally went to live in Africa with the gorillas. I mean, she literally lived with the gorillas in such a way that she earned the trust of them so that they allowed her to get up close and personal. And through her observations, we now know things about that species that we would have never known had she not done her work. So she is a scientist. Jane Goodall's a scientist. And again, I'm trying to just blow your image of the Albert Einstein looking guy, okay? Because you can be a scientist. And as I look around the room, I see lots of science looking people in here. So I'm hoping that we're gonna be producing some scientists. Anyway, they did observations. Both of them did observations on those 2 species. So we're going to talk about observations today. And really, observations have 2 different sides to them. So with your table group, really quick, when I say the word observe or observation, what does that mean to you? Discuss that with your table group. What's an observation? Yeah. Just look at something. Okay, so define it for me. Raise your hand and tell me, what's an observation? Jude.
A descriptively visual image that you picture in your head.
Okay, descriptively, I like the word descriptive. And you said visual. Are all observations visual?
No.
Okay. They're all descriptive in nature, but do they have to be visual? No. What are other ways besides with your eyes that you can observe? Raise your hand and give me another way that you can make observations. Rhea?
By touching it.
Touching. McKenna?
Hearing it.
Hearing. Tavia?
Eating.
Eating. Tasting. Very good. Diane? Ma'am? The smell, the scent. All of those things you just described go with the five senses, right? Well, observations can be made from our five senses. That's an obvious thing, and that's usually what we think about when we hear the word observation. Most of us immediately go to visual. There's a lot of other ways to make observations. The ones that you just described are considered what we call qualitative. Everybody say qualitative.
Qualitative.
All right, on your note sheet, you're going to see observations are, this is I think number 2, or can be either. The first blank is qualitative. One more time, say that word, please.
Qualitative.
Or they can be quantitative. Everybody say quantitative.
Quantitative.
Okay, those two words sound almost identical, but there is, and I specifically highlighted the N in quantitative because that's going to help us remember what that word means, okay? So we're going to begin with observations that are qualitative. Now, you'll notice, and I've said this before, but I want to repeat that, yes, we filled out those 2 blanks, but now we're going to talk about those words. So if you've never heard them, what does that mean you need to be doing also on your paper?
Writing.
Yes, here's where your individual notes come in, right? You're now listening and you're writing things that are going to help you remember the meaning of those words. Am I going to tell you word for word what to write?
No.
Do you have to write every single thing I put on the board?
No.
No. But you should be writing some keywords to help you remember. All right, so qualitative. When I say qualitative observations, those are things that we basically use our senses to describe. Back to what Jude said. It's a visual description using your eyes. Maybe something you hear, feel, taste. Okay, all of our 5 senses are used to describe things. Okay? We might describe something's color, its odor, its texture. All of those are qualitative descriptions. Qualitative. Say the word qualitative.
Qualitative.
Okay? But in science, not only do we observe things qualitatively, we also observe quantitatively. To me, the key word for quantitative is the word numbers. That's why I've underlined the N. Okay? When you see the word quantitative, the N in that should help you remember our key word, which is numbers. Quantitative observations are things that we observe numerically. And here's what I mean by that. I can say it's cold outside, okay? Because it feels cold. That's with my senses. That's qualitative. But when I say it's 27 degrees Fahrenheit outside, that's a number observation that is quantitative. Do you see the difference? One is a word description. One is a number description. So anything that we use to describe an item that involves some type of measurement, it's measurable, that would be considered quantitative. Quantitative. Everybody say quantitative.
Quantitative.
Say it for Branson. Quantitative.
Quantitative.
Branson, say it. Thank you. When I ask you to repeat, I'm doing this based on research, Branson, that says if you repeat the word yourself, you get a little brain action happening that you don't get if you just hear it with your ears. That's why I want you to use your mouth. Okay? All right, so let's look at a couple of things that are qualitative. Let's look at a couple of things that are quantitative. All right? So when we say qualitative, again, these are things that deals with descriptions. And one way that I didn't highlight the letter, but sometimes I'll underline the L in qualitative, and I'll say that, the L represents letters or words. Descriptions are usually done with words, not numbers, okay? This is data that can be observed but not measured. So you might observe a color change. That is qualitative, okay? You can't measure it, but it's something that you can visually observe. Things that are qualitative would be things like color, texture, the odor, how something tastes, the beauty of the object. You can say, oh, that is so beautiful. That's a word description, right? That would be qualitative. Versus quantitative. Quantitative, again, deals with what, everybody? Numbers. Very good. This is data that can be measured. To me, that's a very important word related to quantitative. Measure, something that you can measure. Things like length, height, area, volume. All of those are things you've calculated in math before, right?
Yes.
Speed, time, temperature. We might talk about the cost of something. Cost is, if I said that item is very expensive, that would be qualitative. If I said the item cost $1,000, that would be quantitative, a specific number. Okay, so again, we're learning the language of science. These are two words that are going to come up over and over now in your science experience. And again, listen, I'm reading educational journals, and they're talking about qualitative and quantitative measurements, okay? So this is not going away. This is one of those word sets that you need to know. All right, so do you remember the other day we got out a scratch sheet of paper and we were jotting down our steps of the scientific method? We just used a scratch sheet of paper.
Yes.
Do you still have that scratch sheet of paper?
Yes.
Pull that scratch sheet of paper out. Just need a scratch sheet. And if you don't have your scratch sheet of paper, just grab some kind of scratch sheet of paper that you can write on. I don't know. I'll tell you what. I will just try. One thing that makes me nervous.
We have the six.
Yeah, the 6 only left. That's the days when I slept till 1 o'clock.
Okay, so you've got your scratch sheet of paper?
Yes.
Wonderful. Here's a picture of an oil painting, and it's a cartoony picture, okay? I don't have a real picture up here. But if I said to you, how could you describe the painting qualitatively? How would you describe it quantitatively? Could you make a list of things that would be qualitative and a list of things that would be quantitative? Do that with your table group, please. But jot them down on your scratch paper.
Wait, qualitative and quantitative.
About that picture.
Okay. Do we do it on the same square?
It doesn't have to be. Just pick a square. It's just scratch paper.
I would say.
Okay, so I got the buckets. Can't hide from the buckets. So tell me, let's start with our quantitative side. I said that wrong. Let's start with our qualitative side. Qualitative. Everybody say qualitative? Qualitative. All right. So give me something that we could use to describe it qualitatively, please, Ryan. Color. Y'all agree? Yeah. Everybody should have had color on the list. Very good. Give me something else. Dion. Okay, just word description about the size, okay? Now, if you just put size, you have to clarify that we're using a word to describe that, right? Small, large, extra large, and we can use words to describe size, can't we? Okay, so something else, qualitative. Jude.
The smell, it may smell like paint.
Absolutely. Have you ever been around something that some paint somebody's done before? And not only that, but even old artwork has an odor to it. I mean, have you ever been to an art gallery? They have a distinctive smell to them. Okay? Anything else that you came up with? Anybody got anything else that would be qualitative? Abby? Expensive. Okay, and again, when you say the word expensive, that's a word, not a number. So would y'all agree with that? Expensive versus cheap, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, I could go with that. Annalie? The texture. Texture. I'm so glad you said that. How it feels. That's exactly right. Tavia?
The design is easy and relaxing.
The mood of the painting. Exactly. And you know what, Tavia? That's a ticket answer because nobody else has come up with that. I'll bring it to you, honey. So, very good. All right, this is what I came up with. Color, the odor, the texture, the way the picture makes you feel or what it looks like to you. Very good. We could even talk about the strokes, the type of stroke the artist used. Very good. All right, what'd you come up with for quantitative? Give me something quantitative we could measure about the painting. And let me just pull something. Y'all excuse me 1 second. Hello. Okay. Yes, I do. Sure. Dinah, can you go to Miss Smith's office real quick? See, I just pulled your clothespin, so you got out of that one. Okay, let me put hers back in for later. Okay? All right, so, what are we doing? Quantitative, right? Yeah. Meredith.
It's small.
Okay, now didn't somebody else say the size a minute ago? So how could we make that quantitative? Because is the word small quantitative? Say again?
Give it a number the size of the frame.
Yeah, actually measure the size of the picture, right? What are some measurements we could take? Things like how high or the width. Very good. We could do not just the picture, but also the frame, right? We could do both of them. So very good. Good job, Meredith. All right, something else that would be quantitative. Rebecca Ann.
We can measure the weight of it.
The weight, the actual weight of the painting. Good job. Okay, what's something else we could do? Tavia.
Ooh.
Come on, you got the ticket a while ago. Wow us again. Are you stumped?
You can measure the string.
The string?
Yeah, because we got a little string right there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're absolutely right. The string that you used to hang it up. I didn't put that down, but that's very good. McKenna, anything else?
Sky takes and happy.
Yeah, you could talk about proportions. They're the proportion of the picture that's taken up by the sky. Very good. There's one other thing I'm looking for. Did anybody come up with another one we haven't mentioned? Oakley? Cost. Very good. All of those are quantitative. And why are they quantitative? Because they deal with what? Numbers. Very good. So this is my list. I came up with measuring the length and the width. We could do that for the picture, for the frame as well, the weight. You could even calculate the surface area or determine the actual cost. All of those are numbered measurements, and they would be things that were quantitative. Yes, sir.
Something else that would be quantitative, would it be like that there's one tree?
Yeah, you could count some of the things in the painting. Absolutely right. One tree, one road, one bird. Very good. You could talk about the number of colors the artist used. Very good. All of those are quantitative.
That's a bird.
You should have given me that that has time on there. To give something at a time. It's all right. Sit down. Okay, so those are two types of observations. Qualitative, quantitative. We'll be using both of those this year. Sometimes we'll be taking measurements. Next week we're going to be doing some specific measurements in our first lab. Sometimes the data that we're going to be taking has to do with qualitative things. Is there a color change? And from all of those, we'll be able to make some inferences. So the other word that we're going to be adding to our science language today is the word inference. Now, to talk about the word inference, I want to kind of get off subject for a second here. How many of you have heard of girl drama? Raise your hand. Y'all are like, we know what that is. We know what some girl drama is. Okay, hold on, let me get my screen to the right place. Now, you don't have to keep your hand up. But can I just say that for some reason in 7th grade we seem to have a lot of girl drama. Am I right? Okay. So what is girl drama? Raise your hand and tell me. When I say girl drama, what does that mean? Ryan.
Okay. Two girls that have talked about somebody or something, and then the other girl finds out about it and stuff, and then it just
Turns into a mess, doesn't it? What would you say? Listen to this guy who's going on about girl drama. Alright, come on,
Can I pick
DJ.
somebody to talk?
Sir?
Can I pick somebody to talk?
No.
Oh, well, girl just started fighting for no reason.
Okay, he says for no reason. And you know what? I gotta admit, sometimes girl drama really is over something that is really dumb. Am I right? Yes. And Tavia is like, yes, sister, I can add the amen to that. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you a little story to help illustrate my point, and it's gonna involve some girl drama. But I want to use somebody in the room. So let me ask you a question. Who in here is a girl that would admit that they have a boyfriend? Does your boyfriend go to this school?
Yeah.
Who's your boyfriend?
Zachary.
Who?
Zachary.
Zachary is your boyfriend, really? I didn't know that.
You know him?
He goes to this school? Is he in 7th grade?
Zachary.
Is he on our team? Oh, okay. Now, I want some, do you have one that's on our team? Who? She has one. Keaton. Keaton is your And who is your boyfriend? Kurt harassment. I love her. And I love they're two of my favorites. Okay. Maybe I need to pause the video on this. No, I'm not going to say anything. That wouldn't be appropriate for them to hear. But, okay, let's, I can totally pick on Keaton. I can pick on Kurt too, but for this, I'm going to use Keaton and Taisha. Okay. Now, Taisha, pick another girl in the room who is a friend of yours. Me. Okay, Tavia is a friend of hers. And then pick another girl who is a friend of both of y'all who is not in this room.
McKendra. Yeah.
McKendra. Okay, and I know McKendra too. This is going to be perfect. Okay. So, one day, Keaton and McKendra are talking. And who happens to see them but Tavia? Now, she's at the other end of the hallway, but you know, being the observationist that she is, she sees them at the other end of the hallway. And she sees McKendra laughing, which is not uncommon, right? Okay, she's laughing, and she's smiling, and she just happens to move a little bit closer to Keaton. And, you know, she's kind of tilting her head and flinging her hair and doing all that stuff that girls do when they flirt. And Tavia sees it. Now, Tavia is on her way to Miss Clark's class where she is going to see Taisha. And guess what she is going to say when she comes into the classroom? You know what she's going to say. Girl, you are not going to believe what I just saw. Kendra is trying to steal your man. Now, let me ask you a question. Did she observe McKendra stealing her man? Yes or no? Okay. Or did she infer that McKendra was going to try to steal her man? So, what is the difference between an observation and an inference? Would you talk about that with your table group for a second? Okay. So first of all, somebody raise your hand and tell me, what did Tavia observe? What did she observe? Jade.
She observed.
Come on, man, you got this.
She observed McKendra
Talking to Keaton. Y'all agree with that?
Yeah.
Check. Okay. Did she observe anything else?
No.
Okay. What else did she observe, Ryan?
Flipping of the hair.
She observed Kendra flinging her hair. Okay. What else?
getting closer to him.
She observed Kendra moving in a little closer, right? Okay. Did she observe anything else? What did she observe?
Flirting.
Okay. Did she observe flirting, or did she infer that there was some flirting? So let me ask you this. What is the difference between observing and inferring? Jacob?
Observing is what you really see, and inferring is seeing what's happening and guessing what's the motive, I guess.
Okay. So observing is what you really see. Does everybody agree with that? I observed this. She did this. She did this. She did this. Inferring is what you make of the observation. It's your interpretation of the observation. It's what you conclude from the observation, right? Tavia concluded from her observation that McKendra was making a move, right? Does she know that for sure? No. But it's based on what she observed. Kendra did this, she did this, she did this. She's inferring what's going to happen based on what she observed. Do you see the difference? Yeah. An inference is almost like an assumption, but it's based on real observations. Okay? And y'all, that's how all girl drama starts, am I right? Okay. Hopefully we're not gonna have a lot of girl drama in science, but you just missed it. Oh, I'm joking. Anyway, so what is an inference? Find that on your note sheet. That's the last thing we're gonna fill in. Okay. So what is an inference? It is a conclusion based on experimental data, and out to the side I want you in parentheses to put observation. A conclusion based on experimental data. What is experimental data? Observations, right? That can be either qualitative or quantitative. Tavia could have said, I saw McKendra put her hand on Keaton's shoulder 3 times. That would be quantitative data, right? I saw her smiling and laughing. That would be more qualitative, okay? Numbers versus word descriptions. But the point is, the inference is based on observations, based on data, and it's a conclusion we reach. I kind of like to use the word assumption, but to me, assumptions can be made without even having observations, okay? This is relying on observation. So inference is based on observations that you've made. It's what you make of what you see. Does that make sense? Okay, so y'all can put Keaton's name to the side and I'll help you remember our little story. Alright, well, before we switch gears, we've added really 3 words to our language bank. We've added inference, which we just talked about, and we've added qualitative and quantitative. I want you to take those 3 words and very quickly pair share them with another person. Ready? Go.
Okay, for the person watching, I have blanked the screen so everybody in the classroom can't see what I have up here. We're getting ready to fold the paper to make it look like what you see on the screen.
No, we did wrong the
Don't just lay it on her desk if she's not there, okay?
several things to it. And you should have in front of you a blank sheet of paper.
Yeah, ma'am.
And we are getting ready to fold this for a project that we're going to do. And so I'm going to ask you, don't assume that I am going to fold a certain way and just start folding. We're going to do something that we haven't done in here before, okay? Now listen, we may have someone in the room that ends up being paper folding challenged, and that's okay. We're going to help them. So if you see someone at your table that looks like they're struggling, don't point to them and laugh. Just help. Okay? Just help. Take your piece of paper and we're going to start with a hot dog fold, but watch. I'm not going to go all the way to the edge. I want you to leave about 1 finger's worth of paper before you press down. See what I'm talking about? Leave about a finger's worth and then press it down. Okay. Got a finger's worth. And then press it down. Help your neighbor if they look confused.
Haley, how'd you do yesterday? Oh, did you go to the band? Last week. Put 7 signs.
Okay, so crease it really well. And then turn it this way, and we're going to take that finger's worth. We're going to fold it down kind of like you would create an envelope. Okay? So fold it down. Kind of like an envelope. So far, everybody has passed the paper challenge. Yes. Okay. So we've just gone elementary school, we've gone middle school, now we're about to do high school. Are you ready?
I'm ready for college.
Y'all ready to move on to high school? Okay. This is where you're going to have to watch. Okay? What we're going to try to do is create 3 separate sections. So instead of folding it in half, we're going to have to fold it to create thirds. Watch. This is the easiest way to do it. Stick your hand in the middle, fold over your hand like this. Watch. Okay? And then bring the other side over, and you want to try to make it all even so that you have 3 equal squares when you open it up. If they're not perfectly equal, it's okay. We'll still pass you on to high school, okay? Thank you. You still get to go, yeah. You don't get an A, you get a C. No, just pick it. Okay? So it looks like this. And again, if your neighbor looks confused, just help it. Everybody good? Okay, once you got it folded, really crease it down well. Y'all all passed the paper challenge. Woohoo!
Are we opening it back up?
Alright. Take your piece of paper and open it all the way up. And look at the board. Okay, so on your sheet of paper, you should have a strip that goes across the top, and you should have 6 boxes. All right? Y'all did a great job. Now, on your strip that goes across the top, that's going to be our title, the place for our title. So I want you on the left to put the title, Everyday Scientific Method. On the right, I want you to put your name and the date. And ladies and gentlemen, you know I'm still learning names, so please include your last name, okay? First and last name. That will just help me. And I really would appreciate it. And then I want you to put your pencil down because you're not going to use it for a minute. Okay, so we're going to do a little artsy kind of project, and let me just go ahead and upfront tell you I have like negative art ability. I'm not even going to lie. I just don't. I'm just art challenged, okay? I'm going to just be honest. So if I can do this assignment and I have little art ability, you can do it. Do you hear me? I'm not going to ask you to do something that I can't do. If I can do it, you can do it. So even if you're not a great artist, you can still do this. Before we talk about the actual project, I want to say we have been studying aspects of the scientific method. Okay, so let's go back and remember the steps of the scientific method. First step is the problem. Second step is research. Then form a hypothesis. Then do the experiment. Then do what with the data? Analyze the data. And finally draw a conclusion. Okay. Believe it or not, you use the scientific method every day. You may not realize that you use a scientific method, but you do, because it's just an organized way to solve problems, right?
Mhm.
You really do this all the time. You just don't realize you do it. Let me give you an example. Okay, last night, before I went to bed, I'm one of those people that try to pick out what I'm going to wear the next day, the night before, because in the morning I just don't, I get behind. Anybody in here will get behind me? Okay. I'm a morning person, but for some reason I get up early. My husband gets up at 4:30, I get up at 5, and you would think I could get out the door on time to get up for getting up that early, but sometimes I'm still pressed for time. So I try to pick out what I'm going to wear the night before. So last night I listened to the weather so that I would have an idea of what it was going to be today. And the question I asked myself is, what am I going to wear tomorrow? What am I going to wear tomorrow? So that was the problem for me. I listened to the weather, I went into my closet, and I started looking at my clothes. And based on the weather and what I have in my closet, I picked out what I thought I would wear today. And I pulled it out and set it aside, okay? This morning when I got up, I took those clothes and I put them on, and then I looked at myself in the mirror. Now, this may be a girl thing, but you girls know what I'm talking about. You put something on, what do? You look in the mirror. You got to check out, does this look okay, And I was already thinking the day before, I'm going to be on my feet all day. It's going to be cold. I want to be comfortable. So I need to pick something that's going to go in line with that. So I looked in the mirror and I said, Sel, do you want to wear this today? And I kind of analyzed, how does this look? And I went, yeah, I'm going to wear this today. So I finalized what I'm going to wear, and this is what I'm wearing today. All right, and you guys are seeing it. Believe it or not, what I did was the scientific method. Think about it. I had a problem. What was my problem? What am I going to wear? I did some research. What did I do to research? Weather. Then I went in the closet and kind of surveyed what was in there. Then I formed a hypothesis. I think I'm going to wear this. Picked it out. The next morning, I experimented. I put on the clothes. Then I looked in the mirror. I analyzed. And then I made a decision. I'm going to wear this. Is that not the scientific method? Sure it is. So, believe it or not, you use the scientific method every day in problem solving. We were born problem solvers. That's what really makes us different from the animal kingdom. I mean, we are analytical thinkers. We are problem solvers. That's part of who we are. So you're using this process all the time, and we're going to practice thinking through the parts of that process with another everyday, real life problem solving scenario that you're going to have to come up with. Okay? So on your sheet of paper, we've got 6 boxes. What do you think those 6 boxes stand for? Six steps. I'm going to go ahead and tell you up front, everything you write needs to be neat and spelled correctly. Okay? So let's label our boxes. I don't care if you label at the top or at the bottom. I'm going to label at the top. First step is the problem. Second step is what, everybody?
Research.
Thank you for the one person that helped me out there. Who was that? Thank you, Jacob. Third step is what, everybody?
Form hypothesis.
Hypothesis. Very good. Make sure you spell it correctly. What comes after a hypothesis, everybody? The experiment. What comes after the experiment? Analyzing the data. Very good. I'll just write the word analyze. Notice how neatly I am writing, even though my handwriting is not always neat. Okay. And last step. What? No.
Teachers and students, may I have your attention, please? At this time, please release the junior varsity soccer players. Players, please report to the gym parking lot to load the bus. Thank you.
Is there anybody in here? No.
We're not done. I think it's boys.
Okay. So we have now labeled our boxes, right? So here's the project. You're going to have to come up with your own problem, and you're going to have to illustrate it. Now, I want everybody putting your pencils down, so I do not want you to do a thing on that paper until we give some more clarification, okay? But I'm just going to demonstrate for you what I mean, okay? What was my problem?
You didn't know what to wear.
What am I going to wear? I have to figure out how to illustrate that in my non-artsy ability, okay? So here's how I would illustrate it. This is me. Okay? And I am going to do a little bubble here. Does that get across the point?
Yes.
Okay. Is it super artsy? No. But does it represent my problem? Okay. And this is me with no clothes on, but I'm not like, showing that, okay? So don't show anything inappropriate. All right, research. What's the research that I did?
You check the weather.
Check the weather, and then I did what? Went to the closet.
Draw a picture of a TV.
So how am I going to do that? Okay, let's see. Here's my closet, and I got some hangers,
You did a word.
and I've got, here's a pair of pants, and here's a skirt, and here's a shirt, okay? And here's me in my closet.
Oh, no.
And I'm also watching What is this?
A TV.
This is my TV. And what am I watching on the TV?
WDAM.
Yeah. The weather. Okay, so I might do Weather Channel. Now, let me just say, I'm sketching all this out really quickly. You're gonna have more time, okay? But do you get the point of what I'm doing here? Okay? I am representing with pictures my problem and how I'm gonna get to the what? Conclusion. So I'm not gonna finish drawing this out because of course I don't want to waste all of my art ability in one session. So your job though next, you remember that scratch piece of paper we had just a second ago?
Yes.
Okay, you still have it out?
No.
On that scratch piece of paper, I want you for just a couple of minutes to pretend that you are me. Now, here's what I mean. Usually, here's what happens. When a teacher gives an assignment, they say, okay, you have to do this, and here's how I'm going to grade it. Am I right?
Yep.
I want to give you the opportunity to have some input into how you think something should be graded. So I want you to imagine that you're in charge. Some of you are like, yes. Okay. And if you are grading a paper and you're going to give it a 100, okay, you're going to give this paper a 100, what would that person have to do to get a 100? I want you with your table group to come up with a list of things that you think would have to be included on the paper for this assignment for that person to get 100. Now remember, 100 is not average. What is 100? It is great, right? We're not going for average because we're not average people, are we?
No.
We are above average. We're great at what we do. So, with your table group, I want a list of 4 or 5 things that you think would make up a 100 paper. All right, go ahead and start talking and decide. Go. Yeah, write it down. Use your scratch paper.
What you can do on each of those? I said,
Where's this kid?
is it good?
No, there's only 2. No, there's only 2. What?
Okay, apple.
Well, then, like, you know, Illuminati is completion is good enough. Because it was not all.
We should do effort. Effort. Dog. I can get mine.
That's great. I appreciate it. But let's just come up with the main things. Y'all are
One more. Your name. Past due 8 years.
No.
No, it's if I were nice, I would use 3 days, no, that's a max. Like mac and cheese or mac and cheese, take that as one more, say one.
Okay, as you're wrapping up, pick a person to represent your group, because we're just gonna have somebody tell one thing that your group came up with.
Okay, so who's gonna be the person that represent the
You?
Okay, so I usually start with table 1, but today I'm going to start with table 7 and work my way back. I want for you to share from your table group one thing that y'all came up with that you think would make a paper worthy of a 100. Okay, table 7, give us one thing. Neatness. Does everybody agree with that? Yeah, if you give me a hot mess, am I going to take it?
No.
I'm just going to turn right back around, hand it to you, and say, redo. Okay? Don't even try to give me a hot mess paper. I agree totally with y'all. All right, table 6. What'd y'all come up with? Spelling. Can we say spelling?
Grammar.
Yes, thank you. Let's include both of those. Those, you would think that would be kind of understood now in 7th grade, but some people, I still have to say that to. And listen, don't give me an excuse of, well, I didn't know how to spell it. Then find out how to spell it. You've got enough technology available to you, or you can phone a friend. Okay? Do whatever you got to do. Spell it correctly. Table 5, what'd y'all come up with?
effort.
Okay, I'm going to write down effort, but let me ask you this. How am I going to know that you gave your best effort?
Like, it wouldn't be like sloppy and stuff, and like when you drew, it wouldn't be like scribble scrabble or the stick man you drew.
Okay? Now, to be honest, but I really, that's the best, like, stick, I can't do a real face. I'm not a real artist. So for me, a stick person, I could put a lot of effort into a stick person. Like I could put hands and clothes and, some details on their face. But it's hard for me to tell just by looking at the paper, oh, this person put in effort, this person didn't. How are we going to be able to distinguish? So I'm going to put a question mark by that. Let's see if we can get a little clarity with that.
Or do you want me to give you another one?
Well, yeah, do you have another one?
Yes, ma'am. Creativity.
Okay, again, how are we going to know? Creative. I'm going to put it down, but I guess what I mean by that is creativity can be subjective, can it? Like what may seem creative to me may not seem creative to you.
You want me to give you another one?
No, I will come back to you though, but thank you for offering. All right, table 4. Say again? Complete. It has to be, all right, when we say complete, let's be more specific. How about all the steps? Would y'all agree with that? Yes or no? All the steps. What about the steps? In?
Order.
Not just order, but
Method order.
correct. Correct order. Do y'all agree with that?
Yeah, ma'am.
To be 100? Yeah? Okay, I agree totally. All right, what about table 3?
Like, it needs to be expressed correctly, like the picture does.
Okay, so the picture has to represent the step. Would y'all agree with that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm going to say pictures. Because if they're missing any of the pictures, that wouldn't be 100, right? And pictures, how did we say that?
Express
Express
correctly.
correctly.
express the step correctly? Correctly. Did I do that correctly? Yes. Okay, thank you. All right, table 2.
The accuracy of like, does the problem, can you accurately see that it is the problem?
Okay, and I do want to add one thing to that. I gave you a problem, right? If somebody copies my problem, would that be, do you think they should get a 100 for copying the problem that I did?
It's
So could
plagiarism.
we say that you have to come up with your own problem, an original problem? Do y'all agree with that? Okay, does that mean it can't be similar to mine? No, it can be, because all of them will be kind of similar if you follow the scientific method, right? They're all going to have the same parts to them, but you can't use what am I going to wear tomorrow? Okay, because that was my problem. You got to come up with your own problem. What about this? I don't want any fantasy problems. Like, I don't want somebody to talk about unicorns and, traveling to outer space kind of thing. I want this, because these are real life problems, right? So it's original and real life. Would y'all agree? Okay, does that kind of go with what y'all were saying, group 2? Are you sure? Okay. All right, group 1, did y'all come up with anything we don't have?
Everything is labeled.
Labeled. Okay. Now, technically, we have already labeled it, haven't we?
Yeah, ma'am.
Like label the title, your name, and date.
But we really have done that already, haven't we? Okay. I'm going to show y'all, or before I show y'all, is there anything else that we haven't mentioned that you think should go on there? Here's one thing that nobody mentioned, and I really think it should go on here for 100. What do you think it is, Seth? On time. I do agree with you. And that's kind of built into our grading system already, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to put that down. That's kind of an understood, but thank you for reminding us of that. What about it, DJ?
Accuracy.
Okay. So we really kind of talked about accuracy, but there's one other thing, Dinah, that I'm thinking. I agree with that. If we're going to give it 100, you better put some color on there. Okay? You were. All right. All right. Let me show you, because I think this is interesting. I'm going to show you what my other 2 classes came up with, and let's check off what they have compared to what y'all have. Let's see if we agree. Okay, so here's my first period list and second group list all combined together, and actually they were almost identical, just not in the same order. Let's see if y'all agree with this. All steps of the scientific method, did we have that?
Yes.
Yes. You have to show your pictures. Everybody agree with that? Original, meaning you can't come up with, you can't do my problem.
Yes.
Okay. Spelling and grammar.
Yes.
Accurate, I heard several people say that word. Illustration, and I think we said it like pictures express step correctly. Do y'all agree that those are pretty much the same thing?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to say that. Colorful. Yes. Here's where y'all said effort. Okay. This is how we finalized effort. See if this makes sense to you. Details showing effort. Okay. If I just do this, is that showing effort?
No.
But could I draw a stick person that has details that shows effort? I could add hair, eyes, a mouth, hands, clothes. There's a difference, right? The key is what? Details. Doesn't say artsy, but it does say details. Now listen, if you're artsy, hey, baby, this is your time to shine. Let me see it. Bring it on, okay? Correct order. Did we all have that?
Yeah, ma'am.
Neatness.
Yes.
Is there anything y'all have that's not on this list?
No.
Creativity was not on that list, but
I think probably the colorful part of that does help with the creativity, and so does details. Would y'all agree that that would cover your creative part? Group 5? Yeah? Are y'all happy with that? Okay, anything else? Labeled. We didn't put that on this list, I think, because it was just understood. All right, before we get off of here, do you think this is fair for a 100?
Yes.
Okay, you guys came up with it. So now, speak now or forever hold your peace.
Delete everything.
Yeah. All right, take your paper, flip it over to the back. You notice I haven't put any points. I reserve the right to put the points, okay? This is what you guys said we're going to use for grading. This time I'm going to assign points, but for right now, I want you to just write down the list. Now, hey, if you got a Sharpie and you've been writing with a Sharpie, don't write this list in Sharpie on the back. It'll bleed through, right? But copy the list on the back. I'd use pencil. Because, hey, this is how I'm going to grade you. And actually, this is how your peers are going to grade you.
Wait, this the other classes list or our list?
This is really your list. It's just in a different order. Would you agree with that? Okay. Does everybody agree? This is really our list. It was just so neat that y'all came up with the same thing everybody else did. So we're all on the same page. That's good.
Rebecca, this piece of
Yes, sir. Write it on the back. So you have your list and you know how I'm grading you. Okay, and if you're watching the video, this is going to be due on Tuesday of next week. And I'm going to go ahead and close it out.
Oh, you was recording this the whole